Hi folks, we're Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the the often made claim. It's been something that's sort of been going on for, I guess, 25 years, if not longer. Is every year and even more often than that, there's the propaganda machine, the globalist, race, gender hustling propaganda machine. Starts up again and says that there's an epidemic of rape on college campuses, and that this is, it's worse than it's ever been. It's worse than the last time, and women are being every woman who goes into college or university, is going to be raped for sure. If not multiple times, and so on and so forth. So ridiculous propaganda that's doing the rounds, and none of it verified, none of it factual, but politicians, globalist controlled, which is nearly all of them now, globalist controlled politicians seize upon it and show, well, it just shows how evil men are, and of course, when you look at, drill down on any sort of numbers that may exist, you find that it's the chances of a woman in college being, raped by a straight white man is about close to zero. Not so much with some of the other racial groups, but even then, very, very rare. So the idea that you'd think from looking at the propaganda, the most dangerous place in the world by far, the most dangerous place in the world is a Western university for women anyway. So let's have a little look at this. Now, I get it's clear as you go through it, the sole purpose of this sort of hysterical propaganda is to create, gender division, to sow suspicion, to create social problems that don't exist, to create social rifts in society that don't exist. I mean, if you get a woman or young woman, going to college, who's goes to college with the view that any second of the day that she's going to be raped, possibly multiple times a day. So let's have a look at the propaganda then. Now, you can shoot holes in this thing straight away, so why anybody would rely on it. Now, the politicians that do run with this, if they do get cornered, which is fairly rare, but if they do get cornered, they're very quick to say, "Hey, it wasn't me. They did it. It was that study there. It was the people who did the study. No, I'm only quoting. I'm only saying what they said. Hey, look, don't blame me." And so they quickly hide behind what they know. They know it's a bogus study. They know full well it's an absolute load of nonsense, but they still run with it anyway because they think it'll be popular with women voters. I'm a big, strong man protecting the little woman, and anyway, so having a look at these so-called studies. Firstly, they're commissioned by radical activists and undertaken and written up by radical activists. So it's pretty much always the gender studies department. It's pretty much always lesbians that are running it. And they're radical activist lesbians. They hate the family. They hate straight white men. They hate capitalism. They hate everything about Western society. And they're going out to prove that Western society is evil and bad to the core. And here's the proof. Women are being raped all the time. It's gender oppression, the power imbalance, the list goes on of all the ideological nonsense that is in there. So they begin the I mean, it's not a study, it's a bit of propaganda, but they begin the study with the thing, well, women are being raped all the time, and we're just going to prove that. And so they start with the conclusion rather than look at any evidence. And they've got no intention, none, of objectivity. Now, when you sort of look at these things, they begin with that. The headline thing is rape. All these women are being raped. This is college women. And then it goes to the next level where they water it down slightly to say, a sexual interaction so they've gone from rape to sexual interaction. Then by the third tier, they're unwanted sexual advances. So they're expanding the definition. So they say rape is the headline, but then it's unwanted sexual advances. Then it's sexual innuendo is the final stage. So they go through the 4 stages. So they're down to sexual innuendo. So it's been, so that's not rape. telling a vulgar or uncouth joke or something is not rape. But they equate it to be part of the gender power struggle. So they see rape as the headline, which means it's code speak for gender power struggle in the eyes of the activists. Then they just add all the subheadings in. So come the end, when it's sexual innuendo, they can say that 50% of women every year, it's just college women, suffer some form of sexual impropriety or sexual advances or poor taste jokes or online sexual jokes, things like that. And so they expand the definition. Then when you get down to actually looking at rape, actual rape, this is threat of this actual violence or threat of violence, someone holding a gun to the head, that sort of thing, then the numbers are infinitesimally small. And even then, it's people who are self-declaring that they've been raped and that there's been no verification, there's been no police action. If you then look at the action of the authorities, as in a full police investigation, the matter goes to court, that sort of thing, then women at college are more likely to be struck by lightning than be raped. So clearly rape is not taking place, but you have to do some drill down on this, and you have to look at how they fudge and how they gin up the numbers to try and present it as some sort of hysterical epidemic when it's nothing of the sort. Now, and any women outside of the radicalization process of like the gender studies and so on, or they're not being they're the ones that are not radicalized will look at you a bit quizzically, saying, "What are you talking about? I've never been raped." College girls that I know complain about not being able to get laid. They say it's tough to get laid, and because guys won't come near them. Guys seem too frightened to ask them out on a date or that sort of thing. So the only time that anything ever seems to happen is if some all-in partying and everyone's drunk and they've been, doing the crack cocaine pipe or something or other, and that they get it on at that stage. And maybe that's a bit of a tough gig the following morning. Say, "Oh no, did I fuck that guy? Oh gee whiz, no way." But the idea that rape is an epidemic on college campuses is beyond absurd. Now, the next thing is that it's presented as not only is it happening, but it's straight white men that are doing it. And this is the same that we see in say, the way, the American government, the British government, German government, for example, they say, well, actual terrorism, people setting off bombs and radicalized Islamic terrorists, running around shooting and stabbing people. That's kind of not a big deal. The real problem is white supremacy. The real problem is Hitler. When in fact it's the opposite. So they deflect from the reality. And the same goes on rape. Now the court or the place in Australia where the most allegations of sexual harassment or rape or those sorts of things are being heard is a certain court in Australia, and you can go online actually and look through. Now, if I go through the cases on that, they're all Islamic people, whether they're from Pakistan or the Middle East, it doesn't really matter. Third world countries and India. The name Smith and Jones and so on does not appear in these lists. It is all non-white, third world peasant people. Places where, again, Islamic societies where women have a different status than the artificial one that's been created in the Western world. So, why do they persist? The propaganda, why do they persist in saying, well, it's only straight white males do it, no one else does it, it's only straight white males? When certainly you look at every case that appears as in, pack raping and things like that, it's white people aren't involved. There might be a white girl, but there's not white men involved. So if you go through the listing of how often white men are involved, then it's right at the bottom. They're getting dragged into court for things like upskirting or the entry level or sexual intimidation in the workplace, but where no one touched anybody or did anything to anybody. It was verbal and it was indirect and it was imagined as much as, you know, that sort of thing. But where if you want to go to the real stuff, then it's never or hardly ever involving a white guy. If any you know, serious sort of rape does occur where there is a white guy involved, it's headline news right across the country for days on end. It's amplified to the max, whereas it's happening all the time with non-white people, and it's buried. You don't hear about it. So again, there's ideological propaganda left, right, and centre, but the extent of it is interesting. And again, the funding that these people get, if you follow the funding, then you'll find that it's a George Soros type NGO that's supplying the money to these people. They're effectively being paid as, look, this is what we want you to do. Go and tell a lot of lies, as many lies as you can pack into a page, and say that it's all evil straight white men oppressing women and so on. So and the most pampered women in the history of the planet ever, that is the Western world white women, are somehow the most oppressed by evil white men in the imbalance of gender power relations. And so that's what's going on here. It's got nothing to do with rape, and the dishonesty in the information gathering, the reporting, dishonesty of the media, and all the politicians are all, of course, all who are globalist controlled, goes on. But my concern here is that the misinformation is just off the charts. I mean, wow. How many lies can you tell? And yet they're the same people that scream about misinformation from everyone else. Whereas what they're doing is putting out misinformation that's specifically designed to create, in this case, gender division and to radicalize at least women to believe that they're an oppressed minority. They've got to have to fight back against the man, which is, again, quite absurd. But the extent of the lies and the propaganda is what, if indeed, rape is at epidemic proportions, then it should be properly prosecuted under the law, like murder or something. It's illegal to do that. But this claim that an online joke or something like that is tantamount to rape is absurd. But when they put it all together and equate one with the other, they can then come out with these statistics that women are supposedly suffering. But it's all lies. It can all be dismissed out of hand. You've been a Tassless today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.